conversation. So I'm not sure when she's airing it or what, but
What did she ask you?
just kind of to know what's kind of going on in the market and what I kind of predict to be happening and why do people move to Collierville.
Excellent. So
So
it gave you a chance to give some good information and also promote as well, I would imagine.
Yep, it was good. And
I think people move to Collierville.
she asked me to introduce myself. I said, okay, do you want me to speak as a real estate agent or as a elected official? Because I always try to, what hat do you want me to speak on behalf?
Yeah, I like that. And what'd she say?
So she wanted real estate. I said, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah. So Keith, what was your question?
You were just asking, she said something about what's happening in Cargill, what you were asking about that. And so I was just like asking what is, how did you answer it,
Yeah, I said inventory is still really low. There's more houses getting ready to come on the market. We're still seeing multiple offers. There was one over in Terra Oaks I saw closed out 20,000 over list price.
Nice.
We're down to like 104 houses right now in all of Collierville. And what's going to happen is the interest rates are going up and they continue to rise. But a lot of the builders aren't building. So it's taking almost 12 months. I was at a Magnolia reception the other day, and it's taking almost 12 months to build a house. So, they're still building. And I know Grant's building down in that Georgetown subdivision right off of 385.
Yeah, I drove through there yesterday, actually.
Did you wave to everyone on the interstate? Hey!
But you know what's funny about that? That reminds
Did you not
me,
notice it?
Oh, I did. And I was thinking about that. And it reminds me of a couple really nice developments in St. Louis. When I go into St. Louis, very similar, near the highway, kind of up on a hill, but they're nice houses and their neighborhood's filled up. And it's one of the best school systems in St. Louis is Parkway schools. So, it works. It works for people.
Yeah.
So they reminded me of that. But they look like nice houses. I didn't go inside. But there's a little lake back there and a little walking trail and those sorts of things. So that was cool. I got some updates today. I had a meeting with Ashley about some of the work that's going to happen down at Hinton Park, which is exciting. Or at least I guess they're planning on doing down there. I don't know if it's been approved yet, but it sounds like there's some things rumbling down there, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm finally going to get that playground. Man, we need that playground.
Well, and I sent you guys some shots. I was through I went to the Ford site the other day and drove back through Arlington just to check out what was going on there. And their farmers market, their little outdoor music pavilion are really, really nice. So I think I said that to you guys.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, you sure did.
Keith said, "Don't step on the grass," or did you step on the grass?
Right, because it said something about don't step on the grass, right? So
yeah, but their square is completely different from our square. It's not really. It's like two streets. It's not really. There's not really much there, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But their farmers market with these beams and the design. I feel like I was in Aspen, Colorado, or something like that.
Yeah,
so that was pretty impressive. So.
Yeah, Carl Wayne's, he tagged myself and the other elected officials on a post about a farmer's market just this week on social media.
Well, I think it works. Currently at the Methodist Church parking lot, it's crowded, it's grown. There's a lot more people there, not only buyers, but sellers, as there ever has been. So I think it works for now. But I think down the road, it would be nice to have a amenity like that somewhere in town. I could see us doing that.
Yeah, I would. Just a permanent type fixture like they have in some other towns and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Well, let me kick us off. So if you guys are just joining us, you're watching Maine and Mulberry's Public Policy, where we talk about Collierville, Tennessee, all things Collierville, Tennessee, a town just outside of Memphis, Tennessee, every Thursday. And we do that with Vice Mayor Maureen Fraser and Town Economic Development Director John Duncan. So I feel like I've said that so many times that I say it in my sleep sometimes. We've been doing the show for a while now. So, But if you're just joining us new or watching this on social for the first time, feel free to leave questions, chat. We try to get to all of them. So how you guys?
Does your wife ever say, what was that woman's name you were whispering last night in your dreams? Keith, what? What's going on?
I think she would know.
You're talking about Mary Berry. It's Mary. It's right. Yeah.
I'm sorry. How's it going, Maureen? I interrupted. How's it going?
No, it's going well, thanks. How are you all doing?
Good. Yeah. You doing good, John?
I am fired up. A lot going on around here in this little town, this little sleepy town out in southeast Shelby County. Out there, way out there. Yeah,
I don't know about sleepy, but some.
Well,
Sometimes of the day is sleepy.
Yeah, it can be. There's some things that move slow, but we started last week, I think, or week before last. We started off with econ development with John. I know John's got some updates this week, but let's start with Maureen this time. Tell us what's going on with the board of mayor and aldermen.
The board of mayor and aldermen is getting more and more appointments on their calendars. That's for sure. We have our Thursday work sessions that have started, starting our budget conversations and information, talking about where we've been and where we need to go. And then we'll start, today's discussion is going to be on our capital improvement projects. What we have seen and experienced, like so many, is prices that we might have budgeted is coming in $20,000-$30,000 more than what we had in the budget. So we're going to go through all of the capital improvement projects to see kind of where we are and what's still left to be done, what has to be done, what might be able to, can we wait until maybe supply chain improves, or are we anticipating that it's not going to get any better? We need to go ahead and get it done. So that's today's conversation. And then we'll start meeting with the department heads to discuss. They'll come meet with us one-on-one as a group, as what their priorities are, what keeps them awake at night. That always seems to be a question. And what needs do they have of the mayor and board as it pertains to the budget this next year?
What is for those listening, give some examples of what a capital improvement project might be.
Capital improvement project is improvements at Hinton Park. I know we're probably going to touch on that later. Any kind of drainage issues, park improvements. We have some opportunities right now with a lot of this rain and erosion in our, creeks. I don't know what y'all call them, but there's
rivers.
The rivers, creeks. We did vote on a project this past Monday night for some repair work at Cox Park, right there off of by the Herald Theater and the tennis courts. There's a lot of erosion that's coming through there. And there's a bridge that goes behind Eastbrook subdivision. And there's the bridge at the base, the base of the bridge. It's wearing out. So we don't want to lose the bridge, and we got to keep it stabilized. And then there's a greenbelt trail that goes around, and that's eroding into the creek. So some high-tech project to stabilize the bank. So we have always have a lot of drainage and bank projects. So these capital improvement projects are projects that we save money for, and we have try to plan them at least 5 years out. So there's some that are planned for 2 and 3 years out. One of the capital improvement projects that's coming is obviously we're going to build fire station number 6, which is planned for right across the street from the Collierville High School entrance and the football stadium. We have some discussion right now. The library would like to do an expansion. We had a study done several years ago on what that would look like and kind of cost estimates. So that's coming back where, we have a lot of needs, and people think that, some people are faithful and go to the library 3, 4, 5 times a week. There's some that use the library, but it's all digital. It's all online with their app. So there's a lot of needs, a lot of programs that are offered through the library for all adults and of all ages. So there's some discussion about a possible expansion of the library. Again, that was in the bullpen, as we call it. That was further than 5 years out. It hadn't made it on the schedule.
So more like meeting space?
Meeting space, more room for more materials, room for more of the children's center. We have Collierville's family community. So there's a lot of need for story time, and they have a Lego class, and they have computer training, and they do so many things. Like this time of year, they'll bring people in to help with taxes and tax information. So there's always a lot of programs, and there's not a lot of meeting space.
So what would be something that's an example of that is coming in $20,000-$30,000 higher than what you estimated?
Just this past Monday, we voted on some vehicles. And the vehicles for different departments, we've kind of been waiting to get trucks for. One was for the fire department. A couple were for the public works department. And the vehicles have been hard to find. And when they find them, they're coming in much higher than what we had initially budgeted. So then the discussion is, can we put it off again? Do we think the prices are going to come back down again? Or a lot of times it's like, we have found this truck. We need this truck because we've been waiting over, 18 months. Can we go ahead and get it? And then we have to decide yes, and then where the extra funds come from, where we transfer that money from. And usually it comes from the general fund or the operating fund.
So it would seem to me that, and I don't know how you ride this line, but it would seem to me that if there is inflation, there is increased labor costs, things like that are occurring, that you have to make a decision at some point. Is that it boils down to, are we not going to do some things, or are we going to raise taxes? Mm-hmm. Right. I mean,
exactly.
That's a decision that has to be proposed. And I know no elected official ever wants to raise taxes, right? But you also don't want to back up on something that you've committed to doing, right? I mean, if we need a fire truck, we need a fire truck, right? So what's the opportunity for a tax increase?
Right now, it's really too early to tell if we will need one at this point. We did get some numbers last week, and we've talked before about sales tax revenue, and we're kicking butt on sales tax revenue. People are shopping, people are spending money. And so that increases the revenues that have come in for the town. And then our expenses are required because everybody's tightening their belt. They're tightening as much as they can possibly be. So a lot of our expenses are less than what we had budgeted. So it looks like it looks good for the town as far as sales tax revenue. Obviously, that helps our budget. You can't count on that every year when you do the budget, because at some point, it's not reoccurring. Like your taxes are reoccurring income. Everybody pays tax every year. It's just the amount that may change. So, but the sales tax revenue, you can't count on this extra money every year because you just don't know what's going to happen with the economy. Now, Alderman Marshall, I don't know if she's on here today, but she made a comment in the work session. Well, our sales tax revenues increased because cost of eggs have increased. So if you look at, jokingly, if you look at the price of eggs and how that's gone up, of course, that would increase the amount of sales tax you pay for that dozen eggs. So
it's not just eggs. It's any cost.
It's everything,
right? Yeah, I mean,
everything.
if tax rate is 8% and something is $20 versus $10, the 8% of $20 is a lot more than 8% of $10. So as inflation goes up, so does sales tax revenue. But on the flip side, it's supposed to balance, right? Because that revenue goes up because goods cost more, but so does the cost of the truck at the fire station. I mean, you've got to spend that. It's the same thing as in real estate. You sell your house high, well, you still got to buy back high. Well, I get the sales tax income coming in high, but I still got to spend it back high, right? So. But if there's ways that you can cut costs there on the other side, then you're in a better position. So interesting challenge, and something for the aldermen that you guys will have to go through in making those types of determinations. But I don't see a reversal of cost of goods prices. Eggs are an anomaly, right? They're probably going to come back down. But overall, I think some of the higher prices are here to stay. That's just the new world, right? So, I think we've got to figure that out. And how long has it been since there's been any sort of a real material tax increase in Collierville to the group?
We talked about that. We're supposed to get a handout today of the history of the tax increase. The last one we did was 25 cents. And that was when we were funding the school for the bonds.
25 cents on what?
Right now it's $1.78. So you're per 1,000 of your valuation.
Okay.
So we increased our tax rate now to $1.78, but then we adjusted it because it's a reappraisal year. So it's kind of changing. Now, we did the tax increase of 25 cents. I want to say it was 7 to 8 years ago. And the majority of that was to pay for the bonds for the new high school.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we did an adjustment after that. It went down because it was a reappraisal year, which is every 4 years. The values went up, so the tax rate went down. So I'll see if I can get that chart, because it showed when the tax increases were. And, we'll have a reappraisal year, I believe. The next one's in 2025. And then we'll get the results of that in 2026. So then in 2026, whoever the elected body is at that time will have to decide. You're supposed to be revenue neutral. So if the values go up, the tax rate has to adjust by a certain amount. And, last year we had a problem because we got hit with reappraisals and adjustments, and we got hit by the tune of $2 million that we weren't planning for at all. So I know there's legislation being passed or worked on in Nashville now to limit the length of time before a reappraisal can hit our books in as far as Shelby County goes.
Isn't there also something bubbling about as it relates to what percent of the sales tax revenues will stay with the municipalities and what percent will go to the state, and some work going on to try to move it back to where it was years ago? Can you talk about that?
Yes. And there's a train coming. So give me 1 second.
Okay. That's a quick train.
It was.
Slow down.
Y'all know where I am, but and it's getting dark outside. I feel like I'm getting darker and darker in here. But
there's some storms coming, right?
Yes, there is an initiative through the Tennessee Municipal League called TML, which the Board of Mayor and Aldermen will be traveling with our town administrator to Nashville in March for that. And many, like 40 plus years ago, I think it was in the 1940s, a certain percentage of the sales tax revenue was voted on to be returned to the towns and the cities. Then the state raised the sales tax at 1%, but they did not return any of that to the towns and the communities. So if we would get our percentage back, like we should, last year we should have received another almost $1 million for our budget. So they're calling this to restore. They're trying to restore this to the local municipalities and the cities and the towns. Some towns are really small and that's what they operate off of. And so there's that initiative that they're trying to make to correct that. And then there's also having to do with the cap rate. At one point, you got a percentage of the taxes when you bought like a vehicle. The most of the tax you paid was $1,600. And a certain percentage of that was returned to the towns and the municipalities. Well, then it was raised to $3,200. But the amount that is coming back to the towns and municipalities is still based on the $1,600. So the state of Tennessee is benefiting off of that, but it's not getting back down to where the taxpayers and the purchasers live. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
It's called a cap rate.
Yeah, I was trying to track it. It's an interesting dynamic between the state and local for sure. So, but I get confused on all of it, and the 2 million back, and then the million, and and how they're doing it, and all of that stuff. But that's stuff that you guys have to factor in on as well. And I would assume that these type of 7-figure type deals are very impactful to the budget, even though it's maybe 1 or 2% of the overall budget. That's pretty impactful as to whether you have to raise taxes or not, right?
It is. And we have to balance our budget every year, and we have to balance our budget and vote for it on or before the 1st of July. And so there's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's a lot of balancing. And, every department has the needs and wants, and they've had, we've tightened their belt. You can't, and so much of our budget is personnel. And every year you have increase, you have performance evaluations, you have raises, health insurance. We're part of our own health insurance plan. So all of that has to go into it. And then we do our best to balance it and try to keep everybody happy, from the employees to the citizens to the businesses, and still take care of business. I mean, we still have to provide public safety, police, fire, public works. We still pick up trash, leaves, recycling, and all the things that all the departments do.
So what can the general Collierville resident do to help?
Spend more money in Collierville.
Yeah,
and I jokingly say, and I love my friends over in Germantown, but I always say, shop in Collierville. If you have any returns, go to Germantown.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah. So we need an advertising campaign that says where to get those.
Maureen. I'll steal that. That's pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's real, right? If you work in Memphis and you're going to stop and get eggs on the way home, there's a difference in stopping at Forest Hill Irene and stopping at Houston Levy. there is, because of where the sales tax revenue goes. And so,
right.
yeah, so it's jokingly, you could have an ad campaign that says, where'd you buy your eggs? And that's because it really does. That's what helps. And that's what Shop Local is all about, right? I mean, if you want to keep lower taxes, but to be able to help fund all of the things that your town needs, then you put that money into that town's economy. And a lot of people think about it, and there's auxiliary benefits too, supporting local businesses that are also employing people and all that type of stuff. But there's a direct correlation with where you spend your money and what you pay in taxes and what services the town that can offer. And sales tax is a big piece of that pie. And so, people, when you really net it out that way, maybe it resonates a little more, because that was leading you a little bit, because I figured that's where you would go, because that's the answer, right? Is to shop local. So, all right. Well, anything else from B&A before we move? Let John tell us about Disney World.
No, let's hear about Disney World, John.
All right.
Well, I always, speaking of shopping local, I always feel really bad. There's this little place in Germantown called the Java Cafe, which is at Forts Till Irene and Poplar, basically. It's just a small little deli place, but they have the best breakfast sandwiches. And I always go in there with like an overcoat on and a hoodie, so no one sees me there on many, many Saturday mornings. But now with some of the new things coming to Collierville, I'm not so sure I've got to make the trip to Java any longer. I can go to a place like Stack's in Stack's Pancake Kitchen instead, and maybe get what I need there versus venturing another.
What's
3
the deal
miles
on that?
down the road.
Are they open? When are they opening?
Well, I was talking to a broker yesterday about that, and we both laughed. It was when people ask you, when is that going to open? And you say March 1st, and it doesn't open March 1st. Everybody's like, so we're now going to say soon. If you go over there, it's the old Canucken space in the shopping center where Jim's Place is, and behind the Five Guys hamburgers, back in that corner of that building. A lot of parking, great visibility. They have redone the old Canucken space to create Stack's Pancake Kitchen, which is a Memphis-based breakfast, brunch, lunch restaurant with pretty unique products to offer. They'll be opening soon, and I think this will be their 5th or 6th store, but this will be their biggest one. And there's going to be patio seating there and a lot of cool amenities to it. It's a good spot. It's a good location, easy access, but it'll be a nice new restaurant for people to go to here in town. So on the heels of that, SOB, south of Beale, is opening in Schilling soon, and they have a brunch as well. But I would say that the price points at Stack's and the price point at SOB are a little different type venues, if you will, and offerings. But I think it kind of gives our folks here in town options for breakfast and options for those types of food.
Who's more?
SOB is a little bit more expensive. I'd say SOB, when you look at their ribeye and their, salmon, it's more in line price-wise with the gyms.
Okay.
Even their breakfast is a little bit higher than maybe what you would get at Perkins, maybe a little bit higher than what you might get at Stack's. So really, there's different tiers for different types of restaurants. But I'm pretty excited about what SOB is going to offer right there in the middle of town, in front of Schilling on Poplar, right across from the hospital. It's a great location. So I think people are going to really be excited when that comes. In fact, I found out one of the other tenants going in there is a specialty bakery called Crumble Cookie. It started in 2017 out of Utah. There's over 600 Crumble Cookies in the country in 47 states. So we're getting one there in Schilling, and it's unique cookies and baked goods. They have ice cream, but they make it all to order. It's made fresh while you wait, which is pretty cool. But it's very popular. A lot of people, a lot of movement. So I think the citizens will enjoy that new offering as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good example, and circles back to some of the conversation we were having with Maureen, because that's a destination. Crumble Cookie is a destination. So there are many people that I know that leave Collierville, go to East Memphis to buy Crumble Cookies. It's happening because that product is sought after. So that's what I mean by it being a destination. And then there's things that are the restaurants and stuff that are coming around there and that type of stuff. So bringing that to Collierville is a big deal. It may not seem like you're talking about, okay, here's a cookie store. But what happens? What happens when someone leaves Collierville because they want crumble cookies? Well, they might say, okay, well, now we're going to go to dinner somewhere over in East Memphis, and then we'll go there after, or I'll stop over and see, a movie, or I'll do something else. And you're shifting that whole experience into a different town. And so the more that you keep those sought after things here in town, it's not just about buying a cookie. That buying a cookie brings revenue as well, but it's not just about buying a cookie, right? So now I'm going to go to South of Beale, then I'm going to walk over to Crumble Cookie, or I'm going to do whatever. I may go to Malco, and I've got more that's doing right here, staying in town, and more of those dollars staying in town. So that's a big deal. Even just saying something like that. I mean, we talk about economic development. People talk about a cookie store coming. Yeah, that's great. I love the cookies. I want to go there. But there's a financial benefit as well, and it's bigger than it may seem.
Well, you're exactly right. It's a lot of things. It's a coveted brand. It's a popular brand. It's like Chicken Salad Chick or Whataburger. It's one of those that people want to go there. They will drive 2, 3, 4, 5 miles out of their way to go there. And, South of Beale has a great dessert component to their menu. I know they've got lava cake and cheesecake, but, I think they only have 3 or 4 items on their menu. And I know that they want people to stay and order dessert there, but
sure,
I could see people leaving SOB and going next door to Crumble Cookie and getting a cookie and ice cream over there. But it all works together. And it's good for the community. And I had that interview with ABC 24 the other day. And the whole point of the interview was she had seen on Facebook where people had said, what is wrong with the Collierville economy because the Jimmy John's hasn't opened yet and Pimento's shut down. And people say, what's wrong with the economy? And I told the reporter, there's nothing wrong with the economy. So while I was in Schilling, I said, meet me in front of Schilling where these 2 retail pads are. Let's do our report from there. So while I'm waiting for her, trucks, bulldozers, people, plumbers, electricians, and this guy in the commercial plumbing business drives by who I know. I said, hey, Graham, what's going on? Well, I'm doing all the plumbing for these 2 out parcels here at Schilling. I'm also doing the plumbing work at the new Adjuvant's office, which took the old West Cancer Clinic over, and they're moving 20 executives in there. He also said, I'm doing the plumbing work for the new specialty school off the square, the Gifted Academy, Maureen, what's it called?
Yeah, the Mid-South Gifted Academy.
Mid-South Gifted. And he also said, I'm doing the work at Stack's. And I go, I wish the reporter was here right now. He goes, I've never had so much business in Collierville in my life. And he says, I'm busy all over town. So I think there are certain pockets of Memphis that are thriving, and Collierville's one of them. And when the reporter came, Graham was already gone. I said, I wish you would have been here 7 minutes ago to hear that conversation and to see what's going on all around us, because it's active and things are happening.
Yeah. How did it go otherwise? I mean, obviously we know it's the wrong question to ask. It's not what's wrong with the economy. It's what's right with the economy. That's the story. Tell us what's happening with the economy. I mean, and there's some irony of somebody coming in from Memphis asking us what's going on with the economy. But anyway, so how did it go in general?
I thought it was fine. I was all fired up. At one point, they were filming me. I didn't even know it. Sometimes I can, of course, the Collierville economy is, I can go into stiff John Duncan mode, but they were filming me and I didn't realize they were filming me. And I was on a roll, cheerleader, all excited, talking 90 miles an hour. And we kind of laughed about that. Well, then the cameraman got in his car and she still was asking me some questions. And I was still mic'd up. I didn't realize that. And she was like, tell me about Publix,
one of those
and all this stuff. And yeah, it was a hot mic. And then I'm telling her all this stuff. I'm kind of looking around. Well, here's something, and then I realized I had a mic. I got a microphone. What? Oh, yeah. And I was turned off at that point, but it was a really positive exchange. And anytime we can talk about who we are, where we are, and what we are to a larger audience, in this case to Memphis, it only benefits us, because I think a lot of people have no idea. And we work hard every day, Maureen. I know you do. I do too, to talk about our market. Here's what's happening, to get in front of as many people as we can locally, regionally, and nationally. So it was an opportunity to promote the brand, talk about what's happening here and where we're going. And to me, it was all positive. And I know she wanted to talk to Maureen, and they talked about the residential market as well. So I think they should come away with a pretty positive story about Collierville.
That's good. I hope so. And you know, I see what you're saying. There are benefits to talking about it to a larger audience, to Memphis, with a qualifier to me, right? I mean, the more you're talking about Memphis is, you know, with Collierville economy is booming, stores are doing very well. However, if you want to come and try to challenge that in any criminal way, we're going to put you 8 feet under the jail. You know, that, I think that there has to be a qualifier there when we're promoting a strong economy into Memphis, because and I think, you know, there's a lot of things in Memphis I support. I go to Memphis all the time. I'm not one of those down on Memphis type people. But one of the biggest threats to our economy is crime. One of the biggest threats to anybody's economy is crime. And you've got someone who is struggling, obviously, on a national exposure. You got someone who's struggling, obviously, with crime and being able to control that piece of it. That becomes a threat to the economy. And that's what some of the stuff I mean about the irony of Memphis asking us how the economy's doing. The question is, well, if it's struggling, what are you doing to it? You know, because there's elements there that are obviously out of our control that happen. National trends we talk about, crime rates we talk about, things like that, that threaten the economy. So the story about the economy doing well largely gets back to, again, I keep circling back to what we're talking about with Maureen, but it largely gets back to how well the town is run, how well the services are, how well the security is, all of the things that are operating together to support that economy. And that obviously the people of Collierville as well, and the community driven mindset and spending local and those type of things. But at the end of the day, it's about safety. It's about safety in our schools. It's about safety in walking up and down the street. It's about safety when shopping, those type of things. And that's that. If you ask me what's right about the Collierville economy, I'm going to start talking about the Collierville community and the Collierville services and security and policing. But you know, that's a fundamental piece of it. That's why people want to come here, right? Mm-hmm. And so did y'all touch on that at all in the interview?
Well, you know, she asked me, I'll let Maureen speak for herself, but she asked me why people were moving here. And I said, it's the schools and the community and the churches and the amenities and the safety. And I didn't say anything negative about Memphis, but I was just saying this is and I guarantee Maureen would tell you that when they go through the budget and they've got to make some decisions and maybe compromise and delay some things, I guarantee one thing they don't compromise or delay is our safety component, our police and fire. That does not get compromised or put on the page 2. So the fact that this is a well-organized, well-run, well-managed, safe, secure schools, churches, neighborhoods, parks, community, that's why Mueller wants to be here. That's why IMC wants to build another building here. That's why all these houses are being built. That's why SOB's coming. That's why Stacks is coming. It all works together, and it's a good thing. It's a positive thing.
Yeah, I'd kid Maureen about, and like you're talking about, John, you're making decisions and you're not going to make a decision against security, right? You're not going to defund I shouldn't say it that way because that's a trending thing, but you're not going to underfund police so that you can put money into roads, right? Because we'd all rather be dodging potholes than dodging bullets. So we're going to be, you know, we're going to be putting money where it goes. And that reinforces the job of the alderman there and alderman to be able to make those decisions. But I can't imagine that, you know, you were talking about earlier, Maureen, that all of the department heads comes with their wish lists and what keeps them up at night and that type of stuff. It's not a wish list for police, right? It's here's what's needed. Here's what's needed and here's what you're going to pay for. You know, and that seems pretty cut and dry. To me, right?
And true, it definitely is. And the department heads are the experts. They're the ones that have been trained in that department. So we really rely on them to tell us this is what they need and why do they need it. And yes, I mean, we're all open to, you know, looking at all those. And, you know, we have 2 motorcycle police patrols now. I know Chief Lane would like more. So before we fund that, do we pull officers from cars to put them on the motorcycles? So there's a lot of decisions. You know, we have the drones. We have a lot of positive. We have the equipment we need, but if we need more equipment, they're going to come to us and tell us this is what we need and this is why.
Yeah.
But yeah, safety is definitely number one. And you know what? Everybody's got to look out for each other. You know, a lot of the neighborhoods have installed the flock cameras. You know, we don't have the cop cameras that was involved with that incident in Memphis. Some of the, like there's one, I believe, in front of Kroger that Kroger has a portable recording device that's the Sky Cop. But we have the, when you leave or enter Collierville, there's cameras that are taking record of your license plate. So as soon as a car enters Collierville, and if that car is recorded stolen, and instantaneous, the police know about it. So we're trying to keep Collierville safe, and we've all got to look out for each other. And if we see something, we've got to say something.
Yep.
Man, I'll tell you what, along those lines, and I'll circle back to John because I didn't want to derail that with the security conversation, but how many tickets were given like last week on coming up and down like the interstate in Collierville on 365 or getting on and off of 385? I mean, like there were cops everywhere, but that's not how does that happen? Because that's not a Collierville patrol, right? Collierville doesn't give tickets on 385.
I believe they can give tickets on 385.
They can give tickets on. Okay, so it is Collierville police.
Guilty.
Okay.
Guilty.
Okay. Yeah.
I hope you weren't in the town car, John.
No.
Okay.
They were everywhere, though. I mean, they were everywhere and posted up on the interstate exits. And I was like, yes, somebody's watching public policy and listen to me. I think we just need to line them, you know, up and down the road, like Smoking the Bandit, convoy, police, you know, part of it there, because, you know, that's a big piece of it is coming in and off those entry points, you know.
Right.
So, but yeah, there was a lot out there. But let me circle back to John because we've only got a few minutes left. Was there anything else from economic development, anything brewing that you want to talk through? And hey, did you find out anything about Dunkin' Donuts? Is that still coming? Have you heard anything?
I don't know. I know where you're talking about down east on Poplar, down by Christian Brothers Automotive. I don't know. I've got a meeting over in planning when the show's over. I'll ask about that. You know, I talked to the site selector who's managing the Oracle project, and we were talking about how Oracle this last week has been in Orlando for their big show. And I was looking at the stuff on LinkedIn, and it's huge. And this whole convention center was just Oracle, and there were hundreds of people there. And I'm like, yes, that is exactly what they're talking about, bringing to Collierville. Getting back to what you were talking about earlier, that's real economic development. Money that was in Chicago, Vegas, Atlanta, Orlando is now going to be in our restaurants and in our hotels, and Oracle's bringing all this to our community. So, you know, the real estate component's one thing, but the impact of that real estate is another thing, and it's very, very positive. And it's exciting when you see it in action on LinkedIn and you say, yeah, that's coming to our community sooner than later. So that project continues to unfold. You know, I wish I could give you another little skinny or scoop, but we're continuing to pursue other office users and other industrial users. I went out to the Ford site, I think on Monday, because I was like, I got to see this for myself. I haven't been out there in a while. And I drove out. It took 38 minutes from the square to that exit. It'll blow you away. I counted 25 cranes in the air. There was a yard, like a big yard area with probably 100 of those little lift things. And there were trailers everywhere. There was like a TVA village of TVA trailers. There was a whole trailer section for the general contractor on the project. There were trucks moving and dirt and people and cranes, and the building, you could see the structure coming out of the ground. It's really mind-boggling. And I went to this little convenience store. I wanted a Coke. So I went to this little convenience store right near the site. You know, they're like in there, cha-ching, cha-ching. You know, there's cash registers going crazy. So it really, you don't think, you know, little things like that, you know, that little convenience store in Stanton, Tennessee is probably having the best 6 months of their lives. So it was kind of cool. But that project is really on fire. And if you get a chance to go out there, I would do that. In fact, a guy that's trying to find housing for all of the workers called me and said, is there any place in Collierville that we could house some of these workers? I go, how many rooms do you need? He goes, 800.
Wow.
I go, when do you need these rooms? He goes, by March 1st. I was like, you know, hey man, you should have been calling me 6 months ago. So that's the scale of this stuff. Trying to find temporary housing for 800 people in 30 days is interesting, I thought. So yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah. I don't think we have that. That's probably not Collierville's cup of tea there, but that's an interesting call.
It is. It just sort of gives you the sort of the scale of the whole thing, what's going on behind the scenes. So yeah, if you get a chance to go out there, it'll blow you away.
I need to go out there and check it out. I'm looking forward to that. I'm a Ford guy when it comes down to American-made stuff. I like Ford, the product very well, and I like that they're pioneering and moving into the electric space, and so that's pretty cool. I've seen more Lightnings on the road, like actual on the road now. They're coming more and more, and so that's a good-looking truck, and it's an interesting product. So. That's a good deal. So, and I know that's going to help Collierville and all of the areas around Memphis, tremendously. So good that when the region grows, we get to take advantage. That, we talked down on Memphis for a few minutes, and I didn't mean to do it that way, but this is a flip side of that, right? This is someone coming because of all of the advantages, distribution advantages, the area of Memphis, the area, cost of living, Tennessee, people moving to Tennessee because no state income tax. There's a lot of things outside of Collierville that benefit us as well. So I was just kind of picking on it because it's a Memphis news outlet, talking about what's wrong with Collierville. So anyway, so there's benefits too. I don't want to just harp on Ford, and harp on Memphis, and Ford is one of those benefits.
Well, and Keith, I think Ford is going to benefit, like you said, regional benefit, which is going to help Memphis. And there's be people in Memphis that work there. There should be some companies that pop up directly, indirectly related to Ford that will happen in Memphis, and it's all good. In fact, I keep up with the Memphis Chamber. They've made a couple of economic development announcements here in the last couple of weeks. So they're still landing deals and bringing new people and structures to town. So, I remain bullish, and I just feel like Ford's going to have a lot of benefit for this region, which is, like you said, is a good thing.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, guys. Well, unless you got anything else, we'll wrap it for the week, and hope everyone enjoyed the show. Appreciate the comment, John, and anyone else. Feel free to comment. We'll try to get back and answer any questions that are out there. We appreciate everybody that watches the show, and we'll be back next week.
Hey, did we talk about? I think we talked about pre-show. Did we talk about the fact that Maureen is up for a very?
No.
Oh yeah, that's right. MBJ award.
What?
Right?
You don't want? Okay. I won't talk about it.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
No, Maureen is up for a very prestigious award tonight. The Memphis Business Journal has their Best Real Estate and Economic Development Deals award ceremony tonight. So it's a lot of the commercial real estate types, and now they're bringing the residential people into the mix. And Maureen is up for a residential award. So I think I'll probably have a chance to see her later on today at that event, and I'll stand next to her and tell people how wonderful she is and what great work she does in our community. Maybe that'll influence the judges. I don't know, but
I don't know.
So congratulations.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I got the email, and I thought it was spam. I didn't. I'm like, I don't know what this is. And then I got another email. It's like, did you see this? You've been nominated. Like, oh Lord. So I appreciate that. I do.
That's awesome.
No, that's great. We all know. How good you are around here, and everybody knows your real estate expertise. So it's good to get some acclaim outside. So we'll be rooting for you, and everybody. Hopefully, John's going down. Maybe everybody else see the support, but good luck there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, John.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, y'all.